My father calls to tell me his arm hurts, but what he wants me to hear is he might have a heart attack. Maybe today, possibly tomorrow. It's the end of January. His words follow in shallow breaths. Must have slept on it wrong, he says. I lean on my kitchen counter, listening. Soon his breathing improves, and the conversation goes back and forth for an hour, stretching out across the distance of years, encompassing my brother, my mother, terrorism, the old co-op, how he'll never leave, no matter what the half-Italian, half-Jewish director of the board says, and the merits of the 1986 Mets. These phone calls come day or night, frequently in the last few months. Sometimes it's morning and I've just woken up. Most of the time it's evening, and I imagine my father, 3 hours ahead on the East Coast, sitting at the dining table, smoking, a glass of bourbon at his side. My mother would never have let this sort of thing happen. She would have told him that he was getting senile, that calling his son at 1 o'clock in the morning to talk about the past was crazy. Then again, if she were around, he wouldn't call. But 2 Januaries ago, we drove out to the cemetery near JFK Airport and put her body into the ground, and this is what we're left with. When he speaks, it's in a new tone of voice. Listen, he seems to say. This is important. In the background, I can hear his screeching big band tapes of Count Basie and Jimmy Lunsford. I ask him if the neighbors ever complain. It's wonderful, he says. You hear that? Hear what, Pop? The band leader counting time on the record. I listen closer, but can't make out anything through the blast of the horn section across thousands of miles, and tell him so. It's there, he says, I promise you. With the familiar territory covered, he says his arm is feeling better, and we start negotiating goodbyes. This process goes on so long that I get angry with him, because it's late and I have to get up early for work. He doesn't remind me it's much later where he is. When we hang up, the silence in my apartment feels like a living thing. But I tell myself, it must be that way for everyone, everywhere, sometimes.